the Tucson Rodeo Parade was actually a child of the Tucson Rodeo. Back in 1924, an Easterner, a fellow from New York City named Frederick Leighton Kramer, had relocated out here, began a polo association. He was big into polo. And what he wanted to do was, remembering that he grew up in New York, he had remembered the Wild West shows that traveled around where they had Indians and cowboys and shootouts and things like that, and a rodeo associated with those Wild West shows, and he remembered that. And so got the public backing and the business backing to hold a rodeo in February. And one of the requirements for those rodeo participants was that they had to ride as a promotion for the rodeo, ride in a parade through downtown Tucson, and then from downtown out to the rodeo grounds. So the other local businesses decided what they wanted to do was put entries in the parade that their businesses had sponsored so that people could see that. They also were very adamant about having the parade right in front of their business. So it was quite a serpentine little route through downtown before it headed out to the rodeo.
The parade started in 1925. About that time, the Model T Ford was coming into play, and people were jettisoning their carriages and their horses and buying a Model T instead. So now we had quite a few wagons, carriages, etc., that were no longer of any value.
In 1937, they decided to have a separate rodeo parade committee. Some of the local businessmen and civic leaders decided that they would be part of this and put it together and make it bigger and better, bringing in outside entries from the local ranches, but also using some wagons that the committee had acquired from the city of Tucson, from some of the local mining groups that had donated these old wagons to the parade so that they could be in the parade.
Into the 30s, we'd already accrued almost 80 pieces. For almost 60 years, we have been receiving gifts from people of their carriages and wagons as they felt nice about giving them to us. In '65, it was opened with a few of the displays you see around inside here. There are actually 4 buildings here. We're sitting in the main one, which is the Adobe building that was built in the 1930s to be the sheriff's livery stable. And then other buildings were added here. We added the hangar. It's the hangar that was used here when this was an airport, when the rodeo grounds was the first airport that the city owned. After that, we added 2 more buildings, or the city did, in the back here. One we call the Buggy Barn, and the other one is what we call the Roscoe Barn. The Buggy Barn is where we keep some of the smaller, more fashionable pieces. Everything that you will ever see in this building that has wheels on it is well over 100 years old. We work on pieces continuously around here. Most everything we have could safely be rolled in the parade.
Working on the wagons every year, there are some that have to be completely refurbished. Sometimes that takes 2 or 3 years to get it done right. Other times it's just small repairs to make sure that they're safe to roll in the parade itself.
Tucson Rodeo Parade has really become part of the fabric of Tucson and Southern Arizona. People come early, park along the streets, and they come every year and actually know the names of people that are riding in the parade or the royalty or the bands, and they actually shout out and call that person by name. It's really rewarding to see some of those nonprofits or business organizations that value so much of the history of the parade to come every year. Maybe they've been here 30 years in a row where they've had an entry into the parade. That's a big piece for me because I think this is about history.
It is definitely a cultural and historic treasure of our community. It is, but I would take that a little bit further. I would call it a sacred tradition of our community. It is the fabric of our community. Being almost 100 years old, incredible.
We know that museums such as ours are educational. They bring the Old West to life by displaying the way things were in Tucson back in the day. And we know that people still enjoy to visit the museum, to hear about the Old West, and encounter these wagons and the displays we have celebrating the Western heritage here of Southern Arizona. We've got some great wagons in our parade with a lot of history around them. Probably our most prominent one is the landau that was given to us by the Mexican government back in, I believe it was 1932. This chuck wagon setup is a loan to us from a gentleman who has had it in the parade a few years, and it is a working chuck wagon. It's used on trail rides, and all the equipment and material you see here that he uses for cooking and preparing meals pack up on the wagon and go along with it, just like they would in the old days.
It seems like every time I come to the Tucson Rodeo Parade Museum, I always see something new. I've been here 100 times or more, and every time I come, I see something new. Wow, where'd that come from? Or did I miss that the first time around?
Typically, on a good year, we will have 3,000 to 4,000 school-age children come through this museum. They'll come through as a group, and we ask only that they make a reservation. When you have a group of 200 kids, you need a few people here to kind of corral them.
The goal is to keep this Tucson Rodeo Parade tradition going. I think the key to it is to keep history alive.
We're always trying to keep interest generated. I see a bright future for the museum.